It begins when Jesus is going into the synagogue, and at a time of the dedication, which was really Hanukkah, as you know it today, and it really comes out of a story of where some Jewish warriors had restored the temple. And later, of course, they lost their lives and the Romans ran over them. But every year, Hanukkah is the Festival of Lights is celebrated. And it was at this time that Jesus moved and had this rather startling conversation with the religious of his time. To remember that. We're in the time of rethinking church, and I hope that you're keeping up with this. There's a great website, the United Methodist Church, and lots of news about the church's struggle to rethink church, to begin to see church in terms of the 21st century. The bishops and all the other experts are having meetings, studying demographics, looking at things, to see how in the world the church can be of service to the world. It's a very interesting kind of process that we're in. It's not an old process of trying to see how many new members we can get to come through the door, but how we can do actual ministry to the world right now, where we live. Today, on the grounds of the state capitol, you're invited from 2 to 5. We're going to do a national kickoff for Imagine Noble Area. As you know, last year we took up an offering for Imagine Noble Area, about $800 and some odd, and the rest of the churches in the Austin district. This was the first time it was done, and the church was learning how to do it. Today, several bishops will be there. There will be some music. There will be some feasting, and we'll be strutting around on the lawn of the state capitol, and everybody's invited to come down, check in, see what's going on. We'll have a big time, 2 to 5. Imagine Noble Area. This sermon series is about resurrection. It started at Easter, and we continue to talk about resurrection. And today we're going to talk about the other world. The other world is that world that is within us, and that to one degree or another we all know about it. You know, there are times when our leg hurts and we just feel bad all over. You ever notice that? And it doesn't matter what anybody says or what's going on externally, we just feel bad. And then if you notice that there's sometimes when we got aches all through our body and we're just ebullient, we just feel great. Everything that happens is wonderful, and somehow the pain just doesn't seem to be there. Strange, isn't it? Sometimes people have said something to us, you know, we feel down, we've been scolded, or we found out something terrible, and our mood changes, we get quite dark, you know. And it really doesn't matter what happens, we just kind of feel down. And then there are other times when we've been addressed and our life has been shaken up a bit, but there's just something great about it. And we just are on top of the world. You ever notice that about yourself? That there are things going on within us that change us, that transform us, that make us different. And sometimes we're not always in touch with that. To go to this other world inside of us, which the mystics say has more space than the universe. that we have all this space within us to explore. And it always begins by facing our death. By the knowledge that we're not going to be here forever. That we have a time when we're not and a time when we'll not be. And in this interval we have life. And when we begin to face that, then issues come up. Like, what am I doing with this time that I've got? When I deal with my finitude, it opens new dimensions of who I am. And sometimes people talk about that as the bottom falling out. That different sets of questions begin to arise. That different kinds of experiences become manifest in our life. That we have a whole new world of thoughts, issues, and possibilities. And sometimes we talk about that in that process we find a wholeness in our life that we could not find any other way. Now, the difficulty in this is that religion prevents that exploration. We just need to face it. Religion is about behaving in a certain way, generally defined by the current culture, of not doing certain things and doing certain things. And of course, if you're religious and you do those things that you're not supposed to do, there are rules and regulations to get around it. So that you can just go on being religious. There is, of course, a belief system, and you have to believe all those things if you're really going to be in. And if you don't, well, you know, there's ways around that too. There is a kind of conformity that if you'll do certain things and come to certain services and give a certain amount of money and do a certain amount of good works, you go to heaven. You know? In a way, it's kind of easy. In fact, it's so good that even if you don't do all those things, you can still qualify, you know, and turn on the switch and you're going to heaven. There's, of course, always a hierarchy. There are people in the know. There are people that are up there. They've had hands laid on their heads, and they dress up in pretty clothes. And they know. And so if you don't know, you can go to them and they'll tell you. And of course, the more away from you they are, the holier they are. And we have this hierarchical situation that you know that somebody up there really has the answer to everything. What a pile of nonsense. And it fends off what Jesus talked about as the God that is within us. This other world that's there to explore, that's there to energize and enable our life, and that we can participate in that. And it's the same for the person that's way up here in the organization as it is for the person who's just come into the door. That God is in every one of us. There's no hierarchy. That God loves every part of God's creation, period. Now about the other world, and I want to take exception with that last hymn that we sang. I go to the garden alone. Nobody goes anywhere alone.